a young woman hitchhiking to a birthday party carrying nothing but a backpack and a smile. She vanished without a trace, and for 7 long years no one knew she was alive, hidden in a wooden box beneath a stranger's bed. This is the story of Colleen Stan, the girl in the box, a case so disturbing that even FBI profilers called it beyond human comprehension. It is one of the most extreme examples of control and manipulation ever recorded. In May 1977, 20-year-old Colleen Stan left her home in Oregon to visit a friend in Northern California. She had hitchhiked before and she felt confident, careful enough to turn down a few rides. Then a blue Dodge Colt stopped. Inside were a smiling young couple, Cameron and Janice Hooker, and their baby in the back seat. They looked harmless, even kind. Colleen accepted the ride. It was the last free choice she'd make for years. Cameron Hooker was a 23-year-old lumber mill worker in Red Bluff, California. Quiet, polite, and in secret obsessed with violent bondage fantasies. He dreamed of enslaving a woman, literally owning her, and spent months designing devices to make it possible. When Colleen accepted the ride, he already had a homemade head box in the trunk, a heavy wooden structure lined with layers of cloth and insulation to block light and sound. He pulled over on a remote road, threatened her with a knife, and placed that box over her head. From that moment on, she was his captive. What about the woman sitting in the front seat? The wife, the mother, the one who smiled and said, "It's safe, we can give you a ride." Her name was Janice Hooker, and her story might be just as terrifying. Janice met Cameron when she was only 15. He isolated her, controlled her, convinced her that his desires were normal. Over the years, Cameron's abuse turned toward her, until he made a chilling promise. If she helped him capture another woman, he'd stop hurting her. For Janice, that sounded like relief. If Cameron focused his violence on someone else, maybe she and her baby would finally be safe, so she agreed, out of fear, guilt, and a desperate need to survive. She became the smiling accomplice in a horror that would last 7 years. Cameron told Colleen she was owned by a secret organization called The Company. He said they were always watching her, and if she disobeyed, they'd torture her family. For years, she lived locked in darkness for up to 23 hours a day. When he let her out, she cooked, cleaned, obeyed orders, convinced that even a single mistake could cost her life. And when her family searched for her, they could never have imagined she was living in a small town, hidden under the same roof as her captors. In a chilling twist, in 1981, 4 years after her abduction, Cameron allowed Colleen to visit her family. He told her to say he was her boyfriend, and that the company would kill them all if she tried to escape. When she showed up at her parents' house, smiling and calm, her family was confused. Something felt wrong, but she insisted she was fine. And when she left, they convinced themselves she had simply moved on with her life. In reality, she was walking right back into captivity. By 1984, Cameron's obsession had spiraled. He told Janice he planned to make Colleen his second wife, that it was his divine right. That was the breaking point. The fear, the jealousy, the guilt, all of it exploded. Janice realized the violence she thought was protecting her would soon destroy her, so she did something she'd never dared to do. She told Colleen the truth. She told her there was no company, no secret watchers, no reason to stay. That night, Colleen walked out of the Hooker's house, quietly, calmly, as if waking from a nightmare. She made it to a bus station, bought a ticket, and finally headed home. But before leaving, she did something almost no one can understand. She called Cameron. Her voice was calm. She told him she was safe, and the man who once owned her life broke down crying on the phone. Psychologists later called it Stockholm Syndrome, a survival mechanism where victims form emotional bonds with their captors. After years of fear, isolation, and dependency, Colleen's mind had learned that empathy was her only shield. Colleen didn't go to police right away. She was still terrified, still unsure what was real. But months later, Janice went to her church, confessed everything, and turned Cameron in. In 1985, he was convicted of kidnapping, sexual assault, and torture, and sentenced to 104 years in prison. Janice was granted immunity for her testimony. Many saw her as both victim and accomplice, a woman who helped create horror yet helped end it. Colleen rebuilt her life, but the scars, both physical and psychological, never fully faded. She lives a quiet, private life in California and has worked as a caregiver and advocate for trauma survivors. Colleen later said she forgave Cameron Hooker, but not for his sake. She said forgiveness was the only way to stop him from owning her mind, even after he lost her body. And though she's found peace, she's never stopped believing that he should remain behind bars forever. Decades later, Cameron Hooker was considered for parole, sparking outrage and fear. The board's decision, due in 2030, could become the darkest footnote of this case. Colleen's story isn't just about captivity. It's about survival and the limits of the human mind. Sometimes the strongest chains are the ones you can't see. Her story is a reminder of resilience and of how the law keeps wrestling with horrific crimes long after they make headlines. Could he ever walk free? It's not just about what happened. It's about what might happen.